Hi, my name is Christine. I'm a life coach and counselor, and today I want to share with you part 4 of my Make Your Dream Come True this summer series. So if you've been following along through the whole series, part 1 was about the very beginning, when you first decide that you want to create something new in your life, going through that process and starting from the very beginning. Part 2 was about growing and dreaming and getting clarity on your dream and how to bring it about. Part 3 that I just did 2 weeks ago was about taking action. And this video, part 4, is about sort of just being with your dream and the things that are really important to do that are a little bit more kind of subversive, not as much about taking action, just more of a state of mind or a state of being or an attitude. That's what I want to talk with you about today. So this is a little bit strange, but if you've checked out the video that I have on my homepage, the one where you can sign up for my newsletter and get my free ebook, in that video I talk about the process of manifesting. And I talk about how manifesting is basically about merging time. It's about merging 2 different points of time together. So it's accepting the present moment exactly the way it is right now and just being very comfortable with, whatever you have going on in your present moment, whether it's exactly the way you want it to be or whether it isn't. And it's also about having a dream for the future, some way that you would like your life to be in the future, and overlaying that with your experience in the present moment, merging those 2 points in time together and acting as if both are completely real and true at the same time. Now, I know this can be really hard to do, and it requires a lot of faith, and I myself struggle with this, and one of the things that really gives me a lot of motivation is studying quantum physics, which might sound really bizarre, but I came across a concept over the past few weeks when I was watching a documentary, and I thought it was so cool and so applicable to this idea of creating a dream for yourself in the future. And it's not about taking action so much, it's about state of mind. And that's what I really want to share with you today. The idea, and this is going to sound really strange, but there's actual scientific evidence to back this up. The idea is that what happens in the future can actually trickle back and reverberate into the present moment and affect what we experience right now in the present moment, which is so bizarre. It's so not the way that we're used to thinking of things. We are taught that, what's happened in the past is already past. All we have is the present moment. And what happens in the future, is a result of the things that we're doing in the present and leading up to it. But really, it's kind of all a big mess in space-time with different points in time, almost having a conversation with each other. It seems to be a lot more creative and dynamic than I think we're taught to believe. And I want to share with you some examples of actual studies done in quantum physics so you can truly understand this and use these ideas to think about life in a more creative way, to think about how the decisions that we make in the present moment affect the future, which in turn solidifies your dreams in the future and perhaps even trickles back in time to bring the things, the opportunities, the things that you need to happen in your life to actually get there. So it really is, the whole idea of law of attraction, right? How the thoughts that we think, the vibration that we send out lines up with the opportunities that we need to come to us in the present moment. This is actually, across the space-time continuum. We're talking about interacting with, vibrations from the future. So I really want to make clear what I mean by that. And I want to start by referencing some points in an article. So after I watched this documentary, I went online and I looked for an article that explained all of this in a very basic way. It's, kind of hard to understand. I get the concepts and I hope that I can share them with you in a way that really makes sense, but even the details are kind of over my head. So I wanted to be able to read to you exactly what it says so you can get it, exactly the way that it is. And I think this is really valuable. I think it's definitely worth sharing with you. So the first study that I want to reference is one that was done in 2002. And the article that I'm referencing is an article called Experiments, World May Be Influenced by the Future, and it's by Robert Lanza. So this one little part that I want to read to you is details about this experiment that was done in 2002. So basically what it says is scientists showed that pairs of particles could anticipate what their distant twins would do in the future. They stretched the distance one of the photons took to reach its detector, so the other photon would hit its own detector first. The photons taking this path had already finished their journeys. They either collapse into a particle or don't before their twin encounters a scrambling device. They decided this before their twin ever encountered the scrambler. Somehow the particles knew what the researcher would do before it happened. So how does this apply to having a dream for the future and making it a reality? Well, I take this and I think so much of what we read about in personal development is all about making a decision. Over and over again, we hear and we read that the minute you make a decision about something, it's so much more likely to become a reality for you. It's almost like that, that moment where you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, or I don't know if this is going to work out for me. That doesn't tend to really get us anywhere. It's the moment when we say, this is going to work for me. I know it. I'm ready for it. That's really when the big things start happening. So what this says to me, so much of these experiments are really all about a decision. It's about the researcher making a decision and seeing that decision reverberate into the future and trickle back into the present with its reactions. So another example that I'd like to give you, which you may already be familiar with, is the Schrödinger cat story. This is just a thought experiment that was created by a scientist he was a physicist in the mid-30s, Erwin Schrödinger. And he was so disturbed by the ideas that were being proposed in quantum physics. He thought they were so absurd that he came up with this thought experiment that sounds really absurd. And he was hoping that people would hear this and go, oh my God, that doesn't make any sense. That can't possibly be the way reality is. But what actually ended up happening was that scientists later on started finding more and more evidence in quantum physics that the way that he explains reality through this thought experiment actually makes a lot of sense. So I can share with you what that thought experiment is. It's kind of complicated too, so I'll read part of it to you. So basically, this thought experiment is him imagining a closed box containing a cat and a radioactive source. So if a detector registers a radioactive particle, a poison gas is released and the cat dies. If not, the cat lives. The detector is turned on, so there's a 50-50 chance the radioactive source will emit a particle. So if quantum reality is applied to this experiment, neither of the possibilities open to the radioactive source, and therefore to the cat, there is any reality unless it is observed. That is, the atomic decay has neither happened nor not happened, and the cat is neither dead nor alive until we look inside the box to observe it. One might say the cat exists in an indeterminate state until it's observed. So, the way that I interpret this is that all possibilities are equal, basically until we make a decision about it, or until we get there at that point in time. It's like, say that the dream that you have, whatever you want to create in your life, is the situation that's in this box, and there are so many different ways that it can go. But it's only when you open the box, it's only when you make a decision about it, that you alter what's actually going to happen. All of it's equal until that moment. That's really how I interpret this thought experiment. And then again, to reiterate, I'll read you this part too. Schrödinger devised this experiment to reveal the absurdity of applying quantum notions to the everyday world. Many scientists believe Schrödinger's conclusion is an appropriate analysis of the cat's or our own predicament. Some object on the grounds that it's non-deterministic. Einstein quotes, "God does not play dice." And do you really think the moon isn't there if you aren't looking at it? In response, the great Nobel laureate Niels Bohr said, "Einstein, don't tell God what to do." So I think that, all of these ideas, obviously we have evidence that they're true. We don't necessarily have proof, but they're ideas about the way reality works that we can use in a very functional way, because I think when we just talk about the law of attraction, that might sound a little woo-woo. Obviously a lot of people that are very successful use the law of attraction, and we can say, okay, maybe there's something to that. But I think even just looking at these theories, even though, maybe the evidence is minimal, I think the fact that we do have some scientific evidence that this is real really, really is helpful, especially if you're starting to take a lot of risks, if you're starting to do something that maybe has never been done before. I think this can really be comforting and empowering. Another thing that I wanted to share with you along those lines is, if you have already gotten my free ebook where I talk about the manifesting process and using creative visualization, there is a piece of quantum physics that I do talk about in there, a theory by Roger Penrose, and this article even linked back to that. It was the idea that law of attraction could be functioning because of the way our consciousness works, where we're basically have brains that work as quantum computers that are sending out these signals and interacting with the world around us that way. And this article was going back to how it's the idea of biocentrism, a biocentric view of the universe. And as we find more and more evidence of this, it's confirming Penrose's ideas, basically. Another experiment that I can mention is one that was done in 2007, and in this one, scientists shot photons into an apparatus and showed that they could retroactively change whether they behaved as particles or waves. So the particles had to decide, and they had to decide what to do when they passed a fork in the apparatus. So later on, the experimenter could flip a switch, and it turns out that what the observer decided at that point determined how the particle had behaved at the fork in the past. How weird is that? That is just so crazy. That is so completely bizarre. I feel like that really illustrates that our understanding of space and time is so different than how we think about it on a regular basis. It's just so much more dynamic and interactive and creative. And I really love that, and it inspires me, and I hope that it inspires you too. So I hope that this gives you some inspiration towards not just taking action towards a dream, but also just changing attitude about it. And at those moments where you feel like you're losing faith or experiencing doubt, that you do have a lot more control over this than you might think you do. And some other resources that I'd like to share with you are some more articles on my good friend Celestine Chua's blog, Personal Excellence, and they kind of go along with this theme. I've selected 3 to recommend to you that really go along with the part beyond taking action towards your dream. One of them is Self-Discipline is Overrated. And I'm just going to look and make sure I'm reading that to you right. Yeah, self-discipline is overrated. And I thought this article was really cool because if you're struggling to feel motivated towards working on your dream or your goal, this article really goes into, just how to shift your focus and how to reframe it so that it becomes a little bit easier. And maybe it's just a matter of shifting what you're working towards. Also, 10 Reasons Why You Should Meditate is a really great article. All the links are below. And 8 personal development lessons to learn from Inception. I really love this article that she did about the movie Inception, which is about working with dreams and exploring consciousness, and she goes over 8 personal development lessons that tie into this, which I really think is relevant to what I've been talking about today here. So please leave leave a comment below on my blog, and let me know if you have found this perspective useful. I know it's kind of bizarre, but I would love to know what you think. And if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, please do so. You'll get the free ebook, and you'll get a chance to see the video that I talked about earlier. And I do have something really special to share with you. I wanted to, instead of just, going through this Make Your Dream Come True this summer series and then leaving you hanging, I'm offering for the first time, I have never promoted this in a video before or in my newsletter, my coaching package to make your dream come true. And I didn't want to offer it in the summer when everybody is at the beach and relaxing and on vacation. I thought that September is a really great time because it's that time of year when you've had the whole summer to chill out and dream about the things that you'd like to create. And now as the weather is starting to get a little bit cooler and some people are going back to school or have kids that are going back to school, this is a really great time to start focusing on things and, get ready for the new year. So if you'd like to sign up for my coaching package, please check out my coaching page. I'll put a link below, and I would love to get to know you better and help you work towards your goal or your dream. Bye.